Okay, I'm live and I'm on time. I'm actually a minute early, so we're going to wait a minute before we start. But I finally have Facebook and Instagram at the same time. I don't know why there we go. And not only that, but it's Tea Time Tuesday, and I actually have tea. So that's amazing. First time for everything. Okay, so today we are talking about servant leadership. And I'm going to get right into it. I can see that one person's watching, but I can't see who it is. So hello, whoever you are. And hopefully a couple more people will join, and hopefully people will watch on the replay. So we're talking about servant leadership today. And I found this pretty good blog post written by Brian McLaren, who's a just writer, author, theologian that I enjoy reading. And he had this blog post where he talked about leadership, and he gave models based on modern leadership versus postmodern leadership, and some of the differences between modern leadership and postmodern leadership, and what we need to kind of strive to have our leadership look like. Hi, Marianne. I can see you. Or I can't see you, but I can see that you're watching. So I'm going to go through, I've modified what he has said. I think he had like 12 points, and I've broken it down to 5. So I've shortened and modified his suggestions on this topic. And I think you're going to appreciate what he has to say and how he's presented it. So the first example is knowledge of the Bible versus wisdom. And if you think about the typical, I'm going to say like maybe 1980s mega church pastor or leaders in a church, it's the kind of big, over the top man who kind of knows everything. And so the idea back then was kind of gain knowledge about the Bible, because knowledge is power. So you just got to have as much knowledge about the Bible as possible, because you got to be able to argue your point. And my favorite thing that they would do, and it still happens today, is they would say, but you got to know this passage in context. You got to know it in context. And then they would make up a context. So that's kind of the old style of leadership, is sort of knowledge based, but not knowledge in a bad way, because we are very, we want to be educated. It's more like knowledge in a black and white way. And then versus wisdom. Okay, so you think about wisdom as more someone who actually practices spiritual disciplines. You want your leaders to practice spiritual disciplines. You think of the person's character as being one of the most important things about the leader. There's more of a focus on earnestness and kindness rather than the person's credentials. And so the postmodern leader, or at least we hope, would be slow to answer, thoughtful answers, thoughtful questions, not afraid to ask questions. And really asking questions would be more important to a servant leader than being the answer man who knows everything. And I'm saying man intentionally, because that's what Brian McLaren does when he's describing the modern leader. He said, I'm intentionally using male pronouns for that. Okay, so the next one, and I want y'all to know I printed these backwards because everything's a mirror image. And so they look crazy to me, but they're coming across to you as if they're printed left to right, but they're not. Okay, so the next one is broadcaster versus listener. And so in this model, the broadcaster leader is a slick dude who is smooth. It's about being big, about being on all the time. That's what makes you a leader. Okay, the listener, obviously, is not about how loud you shout or how loud you talk. It's about how deeply you listen. And it's a person who creates a safe place for the people around you to be able to listen to them and to ultimately empower them. And so obviously, like, this is what you want in a pastor, but also in everyone, all the leaders of the church. So it's important for everybody. Okay, the next one is technician versus spiritual friend. Okay, so the technician would be the idea that the church is a machine and the leader knows how to work the machine, knows how to fix the machine, and knows how to make the machine run. The spiritual friend believes that people are more important than the institution. And it's not a solo act. The spiritual friend is not just a solo act, but is someone who has a team that works together. And that's kind of how we're set up in the Presbyterian Church. John Calvin knew what he was talking about when he was interested in, kind of setting up the way that churches work. There's not a hierarchy, it's committees. We have, instead of one person in like the highest place, we have a committee of people who were voted in positions of leadership. All right, let me change my page here so I can see what I'm reading. Next one is the warrior or salesman versus the dancer. Okay, so the warrior / salesman is someone who is on a conquest. The focus is on winning souls, launching a crusade, taking the city for Jesus. They're on a conquest. And if you think about it, really, I'm not sure that anybody ever wanted that, but maybe they did, but certainly not now. People do not want to be won to Christ. People do not want to be taken to Jesus. And people do not want to hear a sales pitch for heaven. We just don't want the salesman or the warrior. The dancer, in contrast, is someone who thinks of leadership as a dance. And that means that sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, like the song says. And it's also this idea that maybe the leader might be able to hear some music that you can't hear and know how to move to the rhythm and then gently help you hear the music and learn how to move to the rhythm. So it's more about being in a dance than a conquest. Okay, how much time do I have? 2 minutes. Good, I'm almost done. The last one is the knower versus the seeker. In the knower model, it's you go to the leader because he will tell you why he's right and you're wrong. And he will tell you that your doubt or your skepticism is out of place. And he will gain credibility by always being right. And he will be the answer man. So if something's wrong, you're going to go to him because he's going to fix it. Okay? Now take that versus the seeker. And it's funny, Brian McLaren made the point that in our kind of Christian lingo, people who are not Christians yet are called seekers. But shouldn't we all be called seekers? And I think of the song lyrics. I can't remember the name of the song, but the lyrics go, We are pilgrims on a journey. We are seekers on the road, or something like that. And in that song, we are all seekers. And that's the ultimate reality, is that we are all seekers. We're interested in seeking out new challenges, or at least we should be, and definitely the leaders should be. We need to be interested in launching new adventures where we go on a quest or an adventure together. And this is kind of the way that Jesus did it. You know, he didn't try to solve the problem of the Pharisees. He took the disciples and many others on a journey where they were all seekers. And a seeker will also apologize for the way things used to be in the institution instead of defending all the old answers. And the seeker will, you know, help to look for new answers. And there's kind of a vulnerability in the seeker that the knower doesn't necessarily have. So those are the 5 characteristics of a servant leader versus a dominant leader. And in the church, we want to create servant leaders because that is what Jesus, the way that Jesus did it. Hi, Chris. So, servant leadership is not about domination. It's about serving and nourishing and nurturing the people around you. So that's my 10 minutes. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.